I was a baby when my mom met my sister's dad. He was straight up with her that I would not be important to him because I was someone else's daughter. She was fine with that. It sounds like they moved in together within a few weeks of dating, and he was never anything to me. I was 4 when they had my sister Katie. They were married at this time too. Katie was always the apple of her dad's eye. She and I had a very off relationship. Sometimes we got along kind of okay, but I would pull back when she started praising her dad and telling me how lucky we were to have him as our dad. Even after her dad told her I was not his kid and she was the only person in the world who mattered to him, she would still bring him up to me as being amazing to us. Our mom often told me I needed to accept that I had a different dad than Katie and that I needed to be okay. She told me kids often have different parents, but are still siblings, and we should be close. Katie got everything while I got nothing. A fact that she would point out a lot. Why don't you have nice clothes? Why don't you eat with us? Why don't you come to the amusement park with Dad and me, etc. She'd tell me to ask for it. One time she followed me around all day to ask Dad for new clothes, and to get her off my back, I did. He asked me why I was asking him for anything, and that was that. Katie said I gave up too easily. When my mom got sick when I was a teen, I decided it was time to speak the full truth to Katie so she would hopefully understand. She claimed that her dad was still my dad because he had raised me and that I should still treat him like my dad. She was 100% dismissive of everything, but she was a kid, so understandable. I moved out just before my 18th birthday, and then my mom died. It came as no surprise to me that I wasn't welcome. Katie wanted me there, but her dad made it clear it was not the place for me. And to be honest, I hated my mom, so I wasn't sad to miss the funeral. 6 years later, Katie's dad was diagnosed with a terminal disease after not taking care of himself. I'm 24 and Katie's 20, and she called when they got the news, saying we would need to help take care of him. I told Katie, no way. She said we couldn't just leave him, that we owe him better than to just leave him to rot alone and unwanted. I told her I owed that man nothing. He hated me and did nothing for me, and I didn't care to comfort him in his final months. She told me she couldn't do it alone. I told her she would need to let others help her, but I was not going to care for the man who verbally criticized me for not being his when I had no choice in any of it. She called me selfish and said I should be doing it for her then because she needed my help and I was all she had in the world. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She was a kid, but she's old enough to know better now. But your mother's the idiot for marrying this guy in the first place. Your mom should never have let someone into her life who outright hated you. He stole your childhood, and you owe him nothing. You owe her nothing as well. Katie sounds self-absorbed to the point of selfishness. Your stepfather abused you. Your mother allowed the abuse. So sad that you had such a shallow woman as your mother. She turned her back on her 6-month-old baby, sacrificing your emotional needs to secure a husband. That era of your life is now over, so do not let Katie drag you back there. He made it clear that he's not your dad. Just because Katie lives in her world doesn't make it any less true. Just cut her out of your life permanently. Your sister comes off as a spoiled golden child who has severe issues with empathy and selfishness, or perhaps even derives some kind of satisfaction from watching you suffer. Stop engaging. Walk away. I gave birth to my son 18 weeks ago. My whole pregnancy was kept under wraps for the most part, except for my husband's parents and my sister. The news I was having a baby did not go over well with my dad, his wife, or my half-sister. So for people wondering why I kept it from them, there are 2 reasons. A few years ago, I thought I was pregnant and had a loss. I had been open about the positive test, and when the truth came out, my dad's wife was smothering. She told me that was when a girl needed her mom the most, and she would not let me push her away like I always had. She married my dad when my sister and I were young, and our mom had died, so she saw herself as filling that mom role, but she was too pushy about it. Even after all I had been through, she would not give me the space when I asked for it, and my husband had to make her leave our home. The other reason is my sister has 2 kids. Throughout both pregnancies, Our dad's wife tormented her with talk of how she'd need her. As her mom, she needed to be there for her baby as she was experiencing pregnancy, and talked about how becoming a mom would bond her to her and make her appreciate her in a new way. My sister actually grew to despise her because of it. Neither of us were ever big fans of hers, but it made her despise her because she was so sure she would fully replace our mom by being here for my sister's pregnancy. She even told our sister she was being dramatic when she said she missed mom. Stepmom said pregnancy makes women irrational, and there's no reason to miss a ghost. My sister has not allowed our dad's wife to be known as grandma to her kids ever since. All this led me to keep quiet when I did successfully get pregnant. I don't live close to my dad anymore, so I just stayed away. I also knew it would hurt their feelings, but I honestly didn't have it in me to care. My dad was furious, and his wife and my half-sister still sent me messages about how cruel and unfair I was, and how I robbed them of the excitement and tainted the whole experience. They both said how Dad's wife becoming a grandma for the third time was important, especially given her other grandkids will never call her grandma, and I was selfish to take my joy from her. So, am I the idiot? Nope, not the idiot at all. Your stepmother sounds smothering. You did the best for yourself, your husband, and your child. Your pregnancy and birth were never about them. You cannot force love or close connections with people. They'll either mesh well together or they don't. Step-parents who try to replace a dead parent completely will almost always fail to make the bonds they're trying to forcefully forge. Was she expecting your baby to call her grandma when it flew out of the delivery room? This woman is not your stepmother. She's merely your dad's second wife. It sounds like they need an intervention to make it clear that their fantasy is not real and will never happen. They're still upset because they believe in their version of the family fantasy and thus think they're being treated unkindly. The only way you will ever get them to back off is to get them to accept reality. As it stands, you're doing the right thing to protect your family and keep the boundary. Congrats on the new bub. Sending you lots of contented baby vibes. My husband's sister moved in with us after a major argument about the baby's name. They're expecting it, and she's 7 months in. She's known to be picky and refuses to eat what we normally cook. We only cook her favorite food, which I can't eat. Allergies, yay. So every day at dinner, I have to figure out what to eat since she only eats the food I'm allergic to. Last night, my husband agreed that he'd cook for her and us together separately. I got home after a long day at work and found out that my sister-in-law convinced my husband only to cook the meal she wanted and cancel the meal we planned to have. I saw them eating together in the kitchen. My husband apologetically said his sister convinced him to eat with her and not cook the meal I wanted us both to have. I said it was fine and then ordered some food from the restaurant. I went to shower, did some work on my laptop, and then came downstairs to find my order on the kitchen counter. It was open, and someone ate the majority of it. I turned around and there was sister-in-law standing, saying she woke up hungry and couldn't resist the smell that was coming out of the box. I lost it and yelled at her, asking why she did that. But she said that she did save me some, which wasn't true because there was only some rice and dressings. We started arguing and I told her I couldn't take this anymore, and I told her to pack her crap and leave first thing in the morning. She began crying and my husband got involved and defended her up and down repeatedly, saying that she was pregnant and had been eating for two basically. Finally, he suggested I go make myself something quick from the fridge and let it go, but I refused and a bigger argument ensued. Am I the idiot for kicking her out over this? Not the idiot. And you don't have a sister-in-law problem. You have a husband problem. Don't get me wrong. Your sister-in-law sounds like a spoiled, selfish, and entitled piece of work, pregnant or not. But your problem is that your husband is more concerned with her health and happiness than yours. So he needs to get his priorities in the right place. Yeah, like how exactly was the husband convinced that his wife, whom he promised to make food for and therefore was expecting it, didn't need to eat dinner and didn't need to be told that she'd have no dinner? Apparently, literally, because she wasn't even allowed the food she got for herself afterward. Sister-in-law is the idiot, but the husband is the bigger idiot. Just throw that whole family away. It's very clear how little they think of you, OP. I don't get it. Why would you convince your host not to cook for the wife? It makes no sense. How can he be okay with that? I mean, maybe if instead he switched and cooked the same meal for him and his sister and something just for his wife. Where do people keep finding these spouses? Because this is also a woman who left her husband over a fight about baby names. She's obviously insufferable. Who leaves because of a disagreement over baby names? I know it's stressful. I have too. But I mean, if one person didn't like the name, it was off the table. And sorry, OP, I wouldn't have let her stay in the first place. I would tell her to work it out and stay at her own house to eat her food. Your husband and sister-in-law are completely disrespectful. If I were the OP, I would ask sister-in-law's husband if I could spend a week at his house, since his wife is driving me crazy. I guarantee that both OP's husband and sister-in-law will resolve all the fights. In Brazil, we have a saying that doesn't make sense in English, but fits very well in this case. Medicine for crazy is crazy and a half. The only winner here seems to be your brother-in-law, who's getting a break from this crap. My fiance and I are engaged and recently chose our wedding party. My bridesmaids are my two closest friends, and his groomsmen are my brothers, one being his best friend, and the other he's known just as long, and he's been like a big brother to him. My fiance has a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than him and is a cancer survivor. That has shaped their relationship too. His parents favor her, spoil her rotten, and expect everyone to follow suit. And she uses that to her advantage with people. My fiance has admitted sometimes he hates her. When he says no to something, she throws cancer in his face or accuses him of wishing she had died when he won't even do a simple thing for her. He's not estranged from his family, but he's not very close with them either. He does blame his parents for what happened and has a lot of resentment toward them. He was mostly ignored as a kid because she was sick, and then he was expected to treat her like a princess. He said his parents ruined her and gave him a crappy childhood. When we talked about our wedding party, he mentioned not wanting the sister in the wedding. I respected that, especially since, to put it bluntly, I don't care about her at all. We never hung out or anything. Apparently, she was waiting once she heard we got engaged to be asked to be a bridesmaid, and my fiance's parents were also. No invite came, and I was personally called by all three and asked about it. I told them I had not planned to ask her, that I was having my two closest friends. They said she's family though, and important to my fiance. I told them she wasn't close to me, and they were asking me to include her in my bridal party, where she didn't belong. They called me an idiot and told me I should make more effort. They also told me nobody belonged to my bridal party more, and to think otherwise made me sound like a bully, and after all she's been through too. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but your fiance needs to stand up and say, actually, I don't want her in the bridal party either. Both of you are allowed to specify who you want alongside you on the day, but it's not fair that you get all the blame when this is a joint decision between you. This right here. And who demands to be in a bridal party? This seems a bit entitled. The parents are way out of line here, and your fiance should assist you in putting a stop to it. And I would consider going low to no contact with these people. I can only imagine how they'd try to take control and twist it to suit his little sister if you and your fiance had a child. She's had cancer, so you should give her your baby. OP, they all need to be put on an info diet regarding the wedding, so she doesn't turn up in the same colors as your bridesmaids, or a white dress, because not gonna lie, she sounds like the type to do it to get some attention. Let your fiance handle his family. It needs to come from him. I, female 27, lived with my parents until last week. I have a dog that I love. She's been my best friend since I graduated from university. I'm not very social and prefer her company to most people I know. I've had boyfriends and even a short relationship that ended amicably. I'm just not interested in much beyond my work and my dog. My parents think that this is a shortcoming, but I don't. My brother also lives with us. He's in high school and he doesn't pay rent. I pay about 50% of everything in the house, including groceries. It's about the same as the rent would cost, and I get the basement suite. It isn't a legal suite because it couldn't be rented, but it's fine for a family member. Because of building codes and stuff, it would cost a bunch of money to make it suitable for a renter. So my mom decided the reason I'm not actively looking for a husband is that my dog takes too much of my attention. My pup has some health problems, but nothing I can't afford, and nothing that affects her quality of life. So my mom gave her away while I was at work. I came home and she was gone, along with all of her stuff, her toys, her leash, everything. I lost it with my mom. I told her if she didn't tell me where my dog was, I was calling the cops and saying that they had stolen my dog and have her charged. I went to where my dog was and got my dog back. I then went back to my parents' house, packed all the important stuff to me, and went to a friend's house. My dad has been calling and texting me, asking about money for this month. I told him he should have thought about that when he allowed a crazy person to steal from me. My dad lost his job because of the global situation, so they can't afford all the household bills without my help. My dad says that they'll be out of money in 3 months without me. After that, I don't trust them anymore. My family thinks I'm an idiot for caring more about my dog than I do about them. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your parents were absolutely taking advantage of you. Were you paying half of everything? And you were paying market rent when your basement suite wasn't even up to code? This is all so wrong for so many reasons. And that's before they dared to get rid of your dog. They deserve absolutely everything that's coming to them. Whatever you do, never give them another cent. I'm just so glad you could get your dog back and that the two of you can move somewhere that you're both comfortable with and safe. They can move into the basement and rent out the room upstairs. Problem solved. OP, you cannot live with people who steal from you and shouldn't live with people who try to control you. They only have themselves to blame for the current situation. They can all get off their butts and work, and you should find a place far from them and enjoy your life with your dog. Also, just thinking that if the mother's problem is that she's not looking for a husband, does she think that if she does get married, they're all going to live together in her house and continue paying? Or will she move out and continue paying them as if she were living there? They would have the same problem. Her idiot actions just precipitated it. OP, you're nearly 30, and they still depend on you financially? They should have thought of that before alienating you and breaking your trust. It's not even about the dog. It's about being able to trust them again.